hold up. Let me try that again. Okay. Okay. We're good. We're good. Sorry about that. I know it's been a while since the last Black Clover discussion, but, it took me a really long time to get off the floor. Okay, no, I'm sorry. That was not the reason why. The reason why was because of my multi-layered, multifaceted plan. You see, I knew that Gray was going to be the next discussion video I was going to have to make in the Black Bull series, but I also knew that we weren't going to find out about Gray's backstory until the most recent chapters. So that's why I went into cryogenic suspension for a number of months, waiting for this day. You buy that? Alright, well, it doesn't matter, because the Black Clover discussion series are back! Let's go to it! Okay, so Gray is a junior magic knight. She's a member of the Black Bulls. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to just throw her picture up there. She's very shy. She's very timid. She doesn't really like to, be seen a lot, and I just showed her picture to every single person on my channel, so I'm gonna scale that back a little bit. That's gonna make this video a little bit difficult. But anyway, now, so Gray is 24 years old. She's got blue hair. She's very tiny, and like I said, very shy, very timid. However, the first time we met Gray, she didn't actually look like that. No, she didn't have blue hair. She actually had black hair. She was a couple feet taller, weighed a couple hundred more pounds, and she was also a man. So, yeah, that adds some difference to the character that we see right here. Yeah. Actually, this has happened before in manga. I mean, I'm sure we've all seen that kind of character, like, are introduced in one way, and then at some point throughout the story, it's like, oh no, that's not my real form. My true form is this, and then reveals something that sometimes is like the exact opposite of the character that we were introduced as, okay? Honestly, I'm just happy that the way Tabata did this, just the name itself was the only thing that carried over from Fairy Tail, because once again, I know I keep going back and referencing this, but it's been a while since the last Black Clover video, so I might as well bring it up again. Yeah, at the beginning of the manga, it was very similar to Fairy Tail, and one of the things that I remember very clearly when I first picked up Black Clover, and I was reading through the first few chapters, and I was getting introduced to the Black Bulls and everything like that, that was one of the things that kind of made me go, ugh, really? It's a rather rambunctious, partying kind of Magic Knight squad, and it happens to have a person named Gray in it. Really? Like, okay. But at the end of the day, that's where the similarities between Gray Fullbuster from Fairy Tail and Gray from Black Clover begin and end. It's only the name. Everything else about the character, pretty different, okay? Especially, actually, very opposite, considering Gray Fullbuster was an exhibitionist, and Gray is extraordinarily shy about even revealing what she actually looks like, so big differences there. Now, she is a transformation magic specialist, so I decided to practice a little bit, and let's give it a shot. Alright, Barry, this might end up turning you into a completely different kind of being, or it might atomize you and just, like, shatter your entire body together. Honestly, might completely obliterate us in the process. But, you know what? You gotta take risks when you're doing YouTube, right? Alright, presto changeo! I did it! I actually did it! I transmorgified Barry into a glass vase! That's beautiful! We need flowers. Do we have any flowers? I had a flower from, oh, yeah, it's still in here. I had a flower from the My Hero Academia video I did yesterday. Okay, cool. Here you go. Barry, you look beautiful. Oh, can I transmorgify myself? Can I finally become the thing that I've always wanted to be? By the gods! I am magnificent! But I don't think I can really do an entire video like this, so, okay, hold up. Presto changeo! Huh, okay, well, that's a skill that I've unlocked now. Alright, so, Gray's magic power, though, transformation, I mean, on the surface, it's pretty simple what she can do. If she sees somebody or something, she can transform into that said person or thing. The standard limitations of transformation magic apply to this, the basic stuff, like she can transform into human she sees, but she can't copy that human's magical power. So, for example, she could transform into Yami if she wanted to. I don't think she would. She's actually probably really, really nervous if she actually did that. But if she did transform into Yami, then she wouldn't be able to use Yami's dark magic abilities. You know, she wouldn't have all of Yami's skill with the sword or anything like that. It would just be the physical form. So, limitations like that. But even then, it's very useful. I mean, just in a combat scenario, okay? So, you could transform into a very intimidating figure, like the original form we see Gray in, the very large man with, like, the giant stomach that just breathes steam, just... You know, you see that thing coming rocking towards you, and if you're just random riffraff, like if you're not a powerful mage or anything, if you're just in a town causing some trouble, you know, trying to rob some people or something, and then this person comes stomping down the street like, you're gonna be like, oh, okay, we should probably get the hell out of here, okay? So just from intimidation alone, you could do stuff like that. And going along with that, you know, the Black Bulls have a certain reputation in the Clover Kingdom, so if she did transform into Yami or Asta or Gauche or whoever she wanted, and then they show up in town, that is also a big intimidation factor. Like, holy crap, it's Yami from the Black Bulls, let's get out of here, he's gonna wreck our entire life. And then, you know, Yami's there like, yeah, keep running. Oh my god, I can't believe I did that. Oh. Actually, Gray, while she does take the form of somebody else, is really good at getting into character. She doesn't really like people to see her actual face, and she will go to great lengths to make sure that never happens. The only way that that'll actually in fact happen, you know, early on. Now she's a little bit more comfortable with it, and she's more in her original form, but usually the only way people would see her face is if she runs out of magic power, her stamina depletes, and then she can't maintain the form anymore, and she goes back to her original, you know, her original appearance. But yeah, so now she's a little bit better at it, but no. So while she transforms, though, she's really good at getting into character. She's a bit of an actress in that sense. So when she transforms into Asta or Charmy, she tends to act like that person, and she can pull it off fairly well. And it's only when she goes into her actual form that the shyness of her actual personality comes through, okay? And what is exactly the reason for that? Why is she afraid of her own appearance? Why is she afraid of people looking at her? Specifically her face. I mean, she doesn't want anyone to see her real body, but the thing that she's really nervous about is somebody seeing what she actually looks like. And, of course, everyone else is like, why not? Why don't you want people to look at you, Gray? You're adorable. You're cutesy as hell. You know, why wouldn't you let people to see your face? Well, that's kind of the reason why we got the flashback recently. So, just to recap for people that haven't been following Black Clover, by the way, massive spoilers for Black Clover. So, in the most recent chapters, Gauche takes a giant sword in the gut, and he gets knocked down, and he's bleeding out, and it's not looking too good. Gray rushes over to him. They sort of seem to be having a bit of a relationship in that regard, or at least Gray seems to have some feelings for Gauche, and she goes to try to heal him. However, she doesn't have healing magic. She has transformation magic. Hold on a second. First, we get her flashback. We get her story. And her story is basically the story of Cinderella, which you'd think would be in this massive book of fairy tales and folklore that I own. And there's a bunch of other stories by the Brothers Grimm from Grimm's Fairy Tales in here in the 19th century. But Cinderella is not included in the compendium. That's okay, though. I have read Cinderella, like the actual fairy tale of Cinderella from the Brothers Grimm years and years ago. It was actually one of the things we had to read for my advanced English class I took in high school, like a summer reading thing. So I have read it, and if anybody else has read the original fairy tale of Cinderella, and there's even a few iterations that existed before the Brothers Grimm. Cinderella, like the overall concept of the story, you know, that has existed for hundreds and hundreds of years, but that particular version, it gets kind of messed up, like the stepsisters. Probably the most brutal thing is that, you know, the story of Cinderella and the glass slipper and all that stuff, and then the stepsisters, they try to put the glass slipper on and it doesn't fit them. Yeah, in the actual fairy tale, it's way more bloody because they actually take up a knife and they start to, like, lop off their toes and parts of their heels so they can, like, oh no, that doesn't fit you, Cinderella. Give me that glass slipper. It definitely fits me. Oh, it doesn't fit me? Yeah, just hold on. It'll fit. Yeah, see, it fits perfectly fine. I don't need this toe anyway. Yeah, it gets a lot more bloody. I also think there's a scene where birds pluck their eyes out. So, yeah, that version didn't fit over into the Disney adaptation too much. But, yeah, Gray's backstory is a Cinderella backstory, meaning that she is one of the sisters, that, you know, she has two stepsisters that are horribly mean and cruel to her. The mother is horribly mean and cruel to her. They live in a big manor house. Her stepsister stepsisters and her mother are just awash in abject luxury and the finest gems and just looking fantastic, of course. And, going back to pretty much every other backstory in Black Clover, nobles are assholes, so they're like, oh, you are nothing but just an errand girl, essentially. So she'd be cleaning the hearth out or whatever, and then they throw ashes in her face or something, just like, you're so pathetic, you're so dirty, why don't you climb up out of the ash and wipe yourself off? Actually, matter of fact, don't. You're worthless, right? However, while all this is going on, Gray, holds animosity towards them, but I think more than anything, Gray just wants to belong. She wants to feel like she's, just as good or just as accepted as, her mother accepts her stepsisters, right? So one day, Gray, she gets her grimoire and she begins practicing her magic, her transformation skills, and one day, you can probably imagine this whole thing where she's like, sisters, I've practiced, I've practiced a spell in my grimoire, and I was wondering if you would like to see me do it. I mean, if you want to, it's not that big of a deal, but, if you want to see me the spell. And the sisters were pretty much just interested in how horrible the spell would be. They're like, oh, don't worry, sister. We'll watch your spell. Oh, okay, because they're fully expecting it to be something horrible. Like, she's going to attempt something and be like, okay, I'm going to transform this rose into a lily, and then she, taps it, and the thing, blows up in her face. That was probably what the sisters were expecting, something like that, to make themselves look like, oh, we are way better mages than this woman, the Gray, could ever be, right? And so she actually does pull off a really high-level transformation spell to the point where she completely copies her sister's appearance, and she transforms into one of them. Now, the original intent behind this is actually really pure because it's Gray just wanting to belong, and she's probably spending the nights studying her grimoire, just like, if I can just, study, my spells, and if I can get really good at it, and if I can transform so I can look just like them, because being beaten down her whole life, she probably started to have this psychological thing where it's like, unless I look like them, unless I am them, then I will never be socially accepted. Kind of a messed up thing, but it comes from a pure place of her just wanting to belong. There's no animosity behind it. She's not trying to make fun of them. She's not trying to act like I'm not trying to show off here. I'm not trying to show off how awesome my spells are. She just genuinely wants to belong in the damn family, which, better off without, honestly. But anyway, she pulls off the spell perfectly, and she turns into a flawless replica of one of her sisters, and as you can imagine, her sisters are not happy about that. They are pissed off, for one thing, I think, that she could just pull off such a spell, something that's actually kind of high level, and they're like, how dare you do that? But more than anything, she transformed into them, so they view that as the ultimate insult, you damn mock us! You damn girl, you take our appearance? Our flawless appearances? Get out of here, you demon! Trying to mimic us, trying to make fools of us, and so she runs out of the mansion, still disguised as her sisters, and runs out into the middle of the road. She encounters some highwaymen, some brigands on the road, and they jump her like, oi, what do we got here? Rich noblewoman, I see, wandering alone in the forest. Well, I bet you can hand over all your money then. And then Gauche and Marie appear at that exact moment. Gauche makes quick works of the thieves, and then they all drop, and then, Gray is still in the appearance of her sister, so, Gauche is there, and he's just like, hey, Marie told me to take out these guys. She felt bad for you. That's the only reason I helped you out. If you're not really committed from running away from home, I would just go back home. If you just left, if it's not what you really want to do, I would just head back home, really, honestly. Now, at some point there, Gray also met up with Yami and then recruited her into the Black Bulls, and then Gauche didn't really recognize her at that point because at that point, Gray had, assumed the appearance of the large, fat man, so they didn't really recognize each other there when they joined. But yeah, that was an interesting backstory there, just the references to Cinderella and everything, and usually it's Yami that's the one that, shows up and, I will save you, and then I will bring you into my Magic Knight squad, although Yami doesn't say it quite as eloquently. Yami's more of just I just happened to be in town to defeat the giant dragon. Oh, hey, little kid that's bleeding out. Wanna join my squad? You know, that's basically how it usually goes with Yami showing up. But it was Gauche in this instance. So, you know, Gray really looks up to Gauche and really views him as like a source of inspiration for her. And I think does kind of develop some some romantic feelings for him there. And hence why she wants to make sure he doesn't die and heal him, okay? So, on top of the transformation spells in that sense, and by the way, she can also transform objects as well. When they were fighting against Gauche when he was possessed by his elf counterpart, she took one of the rocks, the rubble from the battlefield, transformed it into another mirror to like bounce the attack back. So she can even so like oh my god, giant rocks are coming. She could transform them into like pillows, I guess. So it's like, oh no, we're just getting attacked by pillows. Although I think it depends on how much mana she has, because if you go back and look at like the scene in the Sea Temple arc when they had to try to convince Charmy that one of the members of the Midnight Sun were attacking her food, Gray transforms a large boulder into like a giant chunk of meat, and it worked for the plan they had, but the chunk of meat just reverted back into a rock. So I'm guessing she can't transform. She can make it like maybe have the initial appearance of whatever she wants and maybe the consistency of it, but I guess it depends on how much mana she has, and it's also like it lasts just as long as she activates the spell. So she could turn rocks into pillows, and I guess they will be soft, but then they'll revert back into rubble once the spell ends. Okay, so you got to be careful with that there. But her most useful ability by far is her magical conversion spells. Okay, so this is why I said it's similar to like Porygon in Pokemon, and in fact, like there's even more references than you'd think, but let's get into it. So she has the ability to transform any magic into any other type of magic, like within reason. I mean, she can't transform like, I'm gonna transform Magna's fire magic into demon devil magic. Maybe when she trains a little bit, maybe she could technically do that, but she can like, I will transform the gel magic of Sally's salamander into crystal, so it can be shattered. I will transform Gordon's poison cloud into cotton magic, so we can land on a nice cushiony thing instead of being poisoned to death. That's the kind of stuff she can do. And, it's useful in those examples I just gave, but it's also useful in the sense of like, hey, that person has this gel magic, and we're going to use poison magic against it. Poison against gel is not very super effective, but if I transform her salamander into plant magic, with vines and, briars and roses and flowers coming off of it, poison will wither that away real quick. So it's like, boom, it's super effective. So Gray, you gotta look at your super effective tables for Pokemon, alright? Now, this is a problem I have a lot whenever I play Pokemon games, but this is extraordinarily useful, alright? So it's like, Luck is going up against an Earth magic user, it'd be like, alright, lightning against ground, not a good effect. But what I'm going to do is I'll use magical conversion to turn his rock or his earth magic into water magic, and then boom, Luck can electrocute the guy, and then everything's copacetic, so there we go. Very, very useful type of magic. On top of that, she can also transform herself into objects, so she doesn't even have to transform into a person. It could be an object as well. She transformed herself into Asta's sword one time, so she could be thrown. So yeah. In of itself, just being able to like infiltrate places, espionage, that's like the initial things you think of transformation magic, but it goes well beyond that. And if she trains and improves, because even Dante was very impressed by her skills. Actually, he was impressed by a skill that's like her newest ability that we're going to explain in a second. Or at least I'll talk about what it could possibly be, because it's like implied what it is, but we're not 100% sure. But he states, oh, this is another member of the Arcane Stage, along with Vanessa and her magical reality warping ability, Cat. So, Gray definitely has the potential here. I guess it's one of those situations that's definitely like her whole life she was kind of beaten down and told that she was worthless, but if she can overcome those roadblocks and get more confidence in herself, then she could be insanely powerful. Like, she might, like I said that as a joke earlier, but hell, maybe if she does learn about like Asta's devil a little bit, then she really is like, I can convert this magic into devil magic or any type of magic she wants, even like ancient lost magic. But for right now, it seems like within like basic elements and stuff. Like she can't utilize Julius's time magic. I will convert this lightning magic into time magic. I'm not even really sure how that would work, but she might be able to do kind of stuff like that if she improves with her skills and gets more confidence. Okay, so the ability that she utilized for Gauche got run through by a sword. I mean, straight up, like giant broadsword. right out the back end. And Gauche was down, bleeding out. So Gray was like, I'm gonna protect you, I'm gonna save you, Gauche, because you saved me, and also because I kind of want you to look at my face just a little bit more. Maybe it's a little shy, I'm a little scared, but, I just want you to look at me. So anyway, she starts to cast a spell, and the sword, first thing, just disappears, and the wound begins to close up, and it looks like Gauche is gonna be fine. Now, Dante was extraordinarily impressed by that. He was pretty blown away by that. I think his exact words were, "Oh, I want you two women to come be mine," which is a messed up compliment, but a compliment from one of, the leaders of the Spade Kingdom that can control a giant devil at his disposal. Getting a compliment from him, even if it's like a really, really creepy one, is like, all right, that proves Gray has talent, right? And if nothing else. So I'm assuming this is something that goes beyond basic healing magic. This is not something that's just like, oh, basic first aid magic. You are literally repairing organs that are no longer there. This is some serious stuff you're doing here. So I have a theory of what she can do now, and I'm gonna have to make a JoJo reference on this one, but I kind of, my initial thought upon seeing what she could do was it's an ability that's very similar to Giorno's Golden Wind, because Golden Wind, it can heal wounds, but not the same way like Josuke's Shining Diamond could, or Crazy Diamond. Sorry, the dub got in there for a second. Crazy Diamond could just punch you and heal a broken jaw. All right, so Giorno, the way he heals is a little different. Like, you can get an arm lopped off. Giorno can create another arm out of a tree trunk or something and then attach it to you, but you're still gonna feel pain, and it's gonna be a while till you're back up running around, at full strength, right? So maybe it's something like that though, where she goes beyond just transforming magic into another kind of magic, or she can transform an object into a living thing, like to that point where she can literally transform the sword into flesh and perfectly plug up the wounds. Oh man, Gauche got his heart ripped apart by this sword. I'm gonna use my transformation powers to transform the sword into a heart, and the parts of his lung and his flesh and his muscles and his bones that were all ripped out during the attack, and I'm just gonna plug up the hole like that and replenish the blood that he lost with that kind of ability. That's something that would be extraordinarily useful. Beyond that, she might be transforming her magic into something more divine. Maybe something more there's really rare spells out there in the world, spells that can heal wounds and cure curses and stuff like that. She might be able to get to the level where she can transform her spells and convert them into stuff of that nature, stuff that's extraordinarily rare in the world. One of those two things, either or, she's probably one of the very, very few transformation mages that are capable of that kind of stuff in the world. And so that's why Dante took such an interest in her, and I would definitely like to see more of Gray in the future now. So yes, that was the plan all along. I also, I didn't have a Gray pop figurine, because obviously they don't exist yet, but I did have a Trunks one, and Trunks has blue hair, so there you go. There was another option. I also had a Rick Sanchez that also had blue hair, but, I don't think that would have worked too well. Hey, Morty, check it out. I transformed myself into a cute magical girl, Morty. I'm a sexy anime character, Morty. We're gonna do magic. Magic Rick! So, yeah. I'll just leave you with that image. But yeah, Gray, very shy, very meek, but she could step up to plate when she needs to, and I look forward to seeing a lot more of her in the story, and maybe a little bit more about her backstory as well. I feel like, for right now, that's all we're going to get with, her Cinderella story. Especially since right now we're dealing with Dante and Yami, and that's gonna kind of take over the battle. I feel like after that's over, we're going to get maybe a little bit of an explanation into Gray's abilities. That is, if she even knows what she did, because she might just be like, I really like you, Gauche, I don't want you to die, and then, magic happens, and then he heals up, and he's like, oh, I'm alive. It's like, oh, you're alive! But she doesn't actually know what she did, so she has to go and learn about it later. It might be something of that nature, too, but, yeah. And with that, our next video is going to be on Gauche, and then afterwards we're going to talk about, okay, look, I'll be straight up with you. I haven't watched the Black Clover anime in a very long time, and I know this character has been revealed. I know the character, I just don't know how to pronounce her name. I want to say Sekre, but I think that's wrong, so I'm going to have to go watch the anime to figure out how to pronounce her actual name. But I'm going to talk about Nero after Gauche, and then we'll do Yami's, and then we'll be done! It only took a year almost, but we're almost there, so do not let me down, me. Do not let me down. Alright, I'm gonna go transform into a bunny again. You guys have a nice day. Bye.